the day's 8-game MLB main slate. Lots of things to hit on over the course of the next hour, and we will take you right up to lock as always. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my pal here on a Thursday, the baseball savant, the very snack-like Jake Hari. How are you doing, Jake?
Yeah, man, I'm doing well. Did you say you were drinking a White Claw right now? I like
I
your
am drinking a
style.
White
What's flavor is kind of your favorite?
So black cherry, I think, is my favorite. The lime, I don't like as much as some of the other spiked seltzer types I've had, like the Bone and Viv or whatever that one is that
Yeah.
they call it now. Yeah, black cherry to me, like I'm not a big cherry guy, but it's popping for me. It really gives me the refreshing flavors I need with the alcohol to get through life.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I would like lime a ton. Like I usually like anything lime, but not a huge fan of the lime White Claw. So I think I'm with you. Black cherry. There's another one in there that I think is all right, but I usually don't drink them. So when you said White Claw, I had to ask you what your favorites are. I don't know. Maybe I should
No,
fire that up
we're
for
a
the
couple
weekend.
cool millennials here on this show, Jake. We're
Yeah, no
drinking our
kidding.
White Claws, enjoying ourselves. Did you like Four Locos putting one out too now?
I did see that actually. That is interesting. I mean, that's the new hot thing. So maybe it's just a fad, but you got to be in that game, I guess, if you're for loco.
Because White Claw is owned by Mike's Hard Lemonade, I think. So they're all like, "Oh crap, we like missed out on this magical world of malt liquors." All of a sudden, rebranding themselves and getting like paid, and they're all making crazy money too. It's
I'm
wild.
sure. Yeah.
But hey, we are here on Live Before Lock, so we won't talk only White Claws. We will talk DFS. And one important thing to know in DFS is that there is one place you can play rake-free daily fantasy that is available only on FantasyDraft.com. Now you can play your favorite contest rake-free on FantasyDraft, where 100% of the entry fees are paid to contest winners. For a limited time, FantasyDraft is offering a free 7-day trial on your first $1,000 and rake-free entries. So right now, go to FantasyDraft.com and use the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, to get your 7-day trial right now, $1,000 in rake-free entries. Jake, what would you do for a Klondike bar and also $1,000 in rake-free entries?
Yeah, man. You're not going to find a better deal. Playing rake-free fantasy is going to help increase your long-term ROI. So I've said it the last few days, but it really is a big deal. And especially now, they've got some nice MLB contests. You're going to be wanting to build that bankroll up for football when it starts. Some really huge contests on Fantasy Draft, and some lower stake stuff for guys like us. Some higher stake stuff for, Awesemo, Brick, friend of the program, those kind of guys as well. So they're just Fantasy Draft's making an effort, and you should reward them because it's going to help you and it's going to make the industry more competitive, which is exactly what you want.
Yep, so go check that out right now at FantasyDraft.com. They support us, so please support them as they help us keep the lights on here on the Awesemo.com YouTube channel. But yeah, let's also talk about the slate here because we have a lot of things to hit on. And of course, our ownership projections that we're going to discuss throughout the course of the show and the regular projections, you can also get at Awesemo.com/join with the promo code LIVEBEFORELOCK for half off your first month at Awesemo Plus. So go check it out because we're going to be talking about the data a lot throughout this hour. And Jake, we have one very chalky pitcher, assuming, no ownership updates. So the chalk pitcher of the day, Mr. Drew Smyly, step on down with a bunch of ownership, 42% on DraftKings. People are buying into the Drew Smyly in Philadelphia, the changeover of his entire life. He's not in Texas anymore. He's thriving, apparently. I'm going to be under the field on Drew Smyly today, Jake. What are you feeling about him?
Yeah, not seeing it with Smyly. So this morning when Lofty and I were on the show, we talked about Smyly, and he's kind of one of the only options in this low mid tier at 6,600. He's kind of in a pricing tier by himself. Of guys that I guess you could realistically play. I guess you could play Payano, but there's really no reason to do that tonight. So we figured he would get ownership, and he was getting ownership earlier. But man, this is stuck, and it's even gone up. I mean, $6,600. I get it. He can get strikeouts. But Baez not in the lineup certainly is going to give him a little bit of a boost, but it's still a really tough Cubs lineup, especially at the top. Castellanos and Bryant. Hap's been hitting nice. He's been hitting well since he's come back. And then you just have a boatload of righties here, not really counting Darvish. But yeah, man, I really don't see it with Smyly. I didn't get close to the field when I was running crunches earlier.
Yeah, I'm under the field at about half right now, and I think that may come down a little bit as we go because 40% just seems a bit high for him, especially how the chatter goes as we get closer to lock. But we'll keep our eyes peeled there. If it does change materially, we'll let you guys know throughout the course of the hour. But yeah, I'm with you. To me, this makes the Cubs a really obvious leverage stack. It's a high team total as well, 5.1 implied runs for them. on the road here in Philly. And Philly, not the hottest day, but still pretty warm there. The park, one of the better hitting parks as well. So, like, I like these guys. And as you mentioned, Baez not being in there does hurt it a bit, but still Castellanos and Bryant. I think those two guys alone could give Smyly a bad day. So, I'm really not trying to get there that much, even though I get the value. Like, I get why you'd want some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really still do like the Cubs. I love them with Baez. Still gonna like them quite a bit here. I don't know. It's one hitter, and if I was going to be on him before, like certainly going to get there again, and that's not going to make or break me on Smyly either. I still think he's way, way, way too overowned. You can get to some of these top stacks without getting to Smyly. Like you can just take another bad pitcher in Waka or go to awful Derek Rodriguez, who Lofty and I talked about this morning as well.
Yeah, there are other awful guys you can go to here, and I guess on a raw points basis, I mean, he is the best value in that cheap tier, but I guess value-wise, yeah, but like, in terms of the overall point production, I mean, I agree. I think I would just take a dice roll. I have one lineup with Pedro Payano, who we're going to talk about a lot, I'm sure, throughout the course of the back half of the show when we're talking stacks. Like, I don't mind dice rolling with anybody because I really don't think highly of Smyly. No, I hate that rhymed.
That was a Josh Engelman little slip up there.
Yeah, just sometimes that flows through, and you enthusiastically start rhyming like Dr. Seuss. What Drew Smyly brings out.
You got it.
All right. So let's talk about some other. I mean, it's really not a great pitching slate overall, but we do have some talent. Not much in the high end, not in that tier of Chris Sale type guys, the Garrett Coles of the world. They're not here. We do have Sonny Gray and Andrew Heaney, both guys projected for very comparable ownership on DraftKings and everywhere else industry wide as well on Yahoo and FanDuel. They're both going to be pretty decently owned. And Gray is a guy I prefer. I still have a bit of Heaney here because he is going against the White Sox. But I think if I had to choose a guy who's more likely to get blown up, I would think it's Heaney. So who are you feeling more out of Gray and Heaney?
Yeah, I think Gray is the better pitcher. The matchup certainly is going to make things quite a bit closer. There's also a little bit of concern as far as how deep Heaney could go because he had that long layoff. So he had 74 pitches in his last start. That probably puts him in the 85, 90 range. You're still okay, I think, on this slate for 9K. Like on FanDuel, Heaney's just the best option. I think Josh said it best. He's not only just a price play, but he is also arguably the best play depending on your projection system. And we've got these guys so close together that if their ownership sticks, you can make a case for either Gray or Heaney at the top. Right now, I got to just a little bit more Heaney, but they were essentially the same ownership. And like Gray, a little bit of a tougher matchup against St. Louis here, but similar in strikeouts. It's just the implied total is a little bit sweeter for Heaney tonight. So you're splitting hairs, playing trying to fade one or two of these guys. I'm not fading either one of them.
Yeah, I mean it's a slightly tougher matchup for Gray on paper in a better park, and I guess at least a comparably tough hitting park. And Gray, I just think the strikeout ability is there a bit more. The 1.1 whip on the year also pretty appealing. He's keeping things pretty well in pocket, it seems. And St. Louis on the year, not great versus right-hand pitching, though this lineup they have today is a bit better overall. And Randy Rosarena, I feel like, Rosarena, that's it. Down at the bottom there, he does project to be a decent hitter, I believe, too. So it has gotten to be a better St. Louis lineup than it might look on paper. But I think the talent for Gray does win out a bit for me. And I guess if you are going to say, though, like, what's my split? I think I have more Gray right now, but these guys don't really pitch deep into games either way. Like Gray's only going about 5 innings per game, so it's not like he's going much deeper than Heaney's going to be going. So I really could just see doing an even split here, and that seems like what the ownership projections are doing.
Yeah, I think so. My lineups got messed up when I put in the new projections without Votto, I think, and then someone else got Baez. So my numbers are a little bit off now, but I had like 51% Heaney and then 47% Gray, something along those lines. They were separated by a couple percentage points. They're basically one and the same. You mentioned Gray doesn't go super deep either, so it's not a huge concern for Heaney when you're comparing him to some other guys. Same thing with Darvish as well, like a guy who has been very inefficient at times. So they've all got their flaws, but like it's really, really tough to separate them. If you just look at the projections on the site, ownership, anything like that, they're all going to be very, very similar, these three.
Yeah, I think you can make a case to go a little bit higher on Darvish. Like, I don't love the matchup here he's going to get a couple tough lefties in there. And he's given up a 232 ISO to left-handed bats on the year, appreciably worse versus lefties with a 5.7 xFIP compared to a 3.9 going against right-handed batters. And you have guys like Harper. I mean, Harper got back on track in a big way yesterday. I'm sure a bit of an emotional day in Philly too after the stuff that was going on there. And, you have guys, Dickerson in that lineup too. He's a guy who can hit righties pretty well. He's got a 220 ISO. Like, that is a slightly better lineup against Darvish. But ownership-wise, I mean, Darvish is about 10% less owned than both Heaney and Gray. Does it make sense from a tournament perspective maybe to get a little heavier on Darvish just because these guys project so close?
Yeah, it certainly does. I got over on all three of these guys. I'm not finding it difficult to play them together all that much and still get stacks that I want. So like, I like all these guys. I'm overweight on all these guys right now in DK. If their ownerships stick, Darvish I think he's got the highest or the second highest K rate on the slate. Not the best strikeout matchup here against Philadelphia, but he is a favorite. It is only a 4.6 implied total. Alex has him at. And he's also limited the walks lately, which is super helpful when you're talking about a $9,700 pitcher. So if, in the next ownership update, if Darvish's ownership goes down and one of Gray or Heaney shoots way up, then I'm certainly going to balance that out and get a little bit more Darvish because right now is about 1.5 times the field's ownership. He was at 22. I was at about 35%. So really, really like Darvish here.
Yeah, I think I'm actually in the same boat. So I'm looking at it now. Darvish, out of my max 20 I'm doing today, I got 10 for Heaney, 8 for Darvish, and 8 for Gray. And I think, I agree with your take too. Like, if Darvish ends up coming in the low teens, let's say, I think that might be something where it's worth getting a little heavier there, because I really do think your point was actually pretty well founded about it's just like splitting hairs between these guys. And I really could see the upsides for them, and they all kind of have some drawbacks. The pitch count for Heaney, the Darvish kind of control issues and power issues, and Gray just going against a fairly well-rounded Cardinals team in a good hitting park. So I think just a split seems fair, and just go a little heavier on the one that's coming in the lows.
Yeah, usually I get a bunch of separation between one of these guys, but there's just nothing. Like, they all get strikeouts. They all struggle to go deep, somewhat. There's flaws in all of their matchups, but they're just bunched together. And talking about DraftKings specifically in FantasyDraft, not really talking about other sites. Other sites, I think it's a little bit more obvious. Like FanDuel talked about Heaney. He's just the best play. Like, you just play Heaney in cash. He's got the best chance to win and all that. And he's 6,400. So, DraftKings is just really, really, really tough.
So bad. The username is bad in the YouTube chat, pointing out that perhaps we're missing somebody in this price tier. He says, he says, trolling aside to lead off. So clearly he's not trolling if you're leading with the words or the phrase trolling aside. Trolling aside, if you're not playing Mike Fiers, you're actually drunk. So I'm going to disagree respectfully. I think Fiers. So I had one stat that I saw today. When I was doing the Four Corners video, the short form video I do here on the YouTube channel, which you should be watching every day as part of your process. To watch after strategy show, watch it while you're on the toilet, whatever you need to do in your life. I'll come wherever you need me to go. But Mike Fiers hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs since April 20th. Like, that long. He has not been getting blown up. He has the reputation fly ball fire. He's still giving up the fly balls, but he's keeping things in pocket or getting lucky. I don't really know which it is, but a 1.1 whip on the year. Not a great K rate at 17%, but also not giving up a lot of power. Going back to last year, just a 170 ISO this year. I mean, not giving up much home run rate, just 3%. So Fiers, is he somebody you would play at all? Because I didn't land there, and the projections certainly don't push me there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think bad in chat. That might be Alex's burner to get people off, the good pitchers tonight or something like that. Because, 9,500 is outrageous here. Any pitcher, short of like Chris Sale, for this price against Houston it's just incredibly tough to get to. So you've got other options that are way, way better options in his same price range. Second highest price pitcher on the slate on DK is just crazy. So short of a no-hitter, like his no-hitter that I'll get once every 2 years, I don't really see how he hurts me not playing him here. And, I think rightfully so, he's not getting any ownership.
So also one thing to note too, which somebody pointed out to me in the comments on YouTube earlier as well, apparently it's really hot in Oakland today. Like, if you look up Oakland Coliseum weather, it's in the mid 90s, which is not reflected on the site that I scrape lineups and weather from. But I think the Heat, they're gonna. I mean, at 92 right now at the Oakland Coliseum, apparently in Oakland, according to the Google weather alert. And yeah, like that's pretty hot for Oakland standards too. So that's another wrench to throw at Mike Fiers. Like I think you're already having a bad enough time paying almost 10K for Mike Fiers, but Mike Fiers in a surprisingly hot day, even though the park is generally good, I think the Heat there is going to balance that out a bit. I do not like this at all, and I would not want to play Mike Fiers pretty much ever, but especially not at this price.
Man, I don't see 84 degree, or I see 84 degrees right now, but it's going to drop down to mid 70s.
Okay.
Because 94 would change things. Does it ever get that hot in Oakland?
I think so. It does. So they have the weird backwards summers where like the summer is cold and then the fall is hotter, I believe. But yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing if I search Oakland Coliseum weather, it's showing 92, and that guy did say it was 97, and it was 97 earlier. I mean, maybe it just cools down really heavily by nighttime, but it is in the 90s right now.
Interesting. I don't know. You sure you're not looking at like the Coliseum in Rome or something like that?
No, it says Oakland, California, Jake. If I could screen share right now, I would. I'll put the link in chat.
That's really weird. Okay, because that seems super, super hot for Oakland. But yeah, it doesn't change my opinion too much. I don't think Fiers is a terrible pitcher. I don't think it's super likely he gets blown up here. He certainly could against Houston because anybody could. But I'm not stacking up a ton of Houston bats or anything like that. But, that should probably change your opinion if there's a 20-degree difference in weather that we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay. People are saying it'll be 75 by first pitch. I'm just pointing out what this guy told me, and I was like, wow, it is in the 90s right now. I was not aware of that at all. But yeah, like on the weather I pull as part of the lineups page that I grab stuff from, I had it at 70 degrees, but apparently it's a little bit hotter right now. So whatever. Try to keep our ears to the ground here. The people in Oakland, I don't know what's going on with the weather in Oakland. If somebody tells me it's really hot in Oakland, I'm like, all right, how about that? How about Aaron Sanchez on the other side? Because he's also a guy who's not cheap, but at a price tier where people probably won't land on him. And he's been good. I mean, he had that one game where he did have no hitter for about 6 innings in his debut for Houston. And Oakland is a team who they are going to have power, but they do strike out here and there. And a couple of weak guys in there. You have Corbin Joseph in there, who is not. I think somebody was telling me he's a 30-year-old career minor leaguer guy who's trying to stay up. So not somebody who is terribly intimidating in there. How are you feeling about Aaron Sanchez?
I'm just fine with whatever I get of him. He's not someone I see myself taking a major stand on. In my last crunch, he was at 7%. I got him at about 9. So it's fine. It is kind of a healthy implied total against him here, 5.1. Alex has him at 5.1. And Sanchez has been obviously a ton better. He stopped throwing that sinker. Laffy and I talked about that at length this morning, and I think he tweeted something about that as well. Like they've just scrapped the sinker basically in his first couple starts with Houston, and that's of course helped him. So he's certainly a better pitcher. I don't know that he's worth going heavy on here at 7,700 because of the nature of the slate. I'm just able to get up to Gray and Darvish and Heaney more often than not. So if he was a little bit cheaper, I'd probably get to a ton more of him.
Okay, that is fair. Let's transition to another pitcher, but real fast. Whoever's running our social media team currently in our YouTube chat, just dropped a link in there. We are doing a giveaway for the NFL season, our biggest giveaway ever, giving away 10 free months of Osmo Plus. All you have to do is just reply to the tweet, do a little like and retweet thing, the usual, but check out the pinned tweet on that Osmo_com. If you do that, I think you literally have to reply with anything. Just read the season-long projections, pop in. We're doing our free NFL season-long projections made by Osmo, the first time he's ever made season-long ones and given them out to the public. And he is going to give you a big asset if you are going into your draft. A lot of people have drafts coming up in the coming weeks, so just print them out, bring them with you, or I guess use a laptop like a normal person would. I don't know why, like it's the 80s and you have to print it out and carry it with you for the whole day. But however you need to do it, go check it out and go to the pinned tweet right now and at Osmo_com. Jake's got it on the screen. Jake, you're so helpful with that sometimes.
Yeah, I try to be helpful, help produce, and yeah, it's just it's easy to pull up, so why not? But yeah, what about you don't print off your sheets anymore?
No, I would use a laptop. I mean, I haven't done a live draft in a while. I've only done like ones with people all around the country for the last few years. So my friends have been all over the place since high school, and that's my main league I do. So yeah, I just don't never use sheets, but I use like an Excel that I have keep track on.
I did for my first couple fantasy leagues that I did like season long stuff, and I would like write down notes and all that. But you can do it on your laptop. I get that maybe there's some nobility in printing it out and, making notes, I guess, throughout the draft if you're that kind of drafter or something. But just use Awesemo's rankings. And, oh, by the way, I missed this yesterday, but it registered after the show. You said that you gave Alex's rankings to everyone else in your league. Why would you do that?
Because I just figured it'd make them feel better and fair. Because I don't know, like
this is fantasy football. Come on.
Well, so one of my friends has just had a baby like a couple months ago, and like he was like, I don't have time to prep for it because we do auctions, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to do a snake draft because I think that's dumb. Like I much prefer auction drafts, and so I didn't want to change it. So I was like, I'll just give you the rankings and give them all.
No, it makes sense, and I mean, of course, you want them to use the best rankings in the world. So
of course,
awesome.
Yeah, if I wouldn't give them to my old friends, why would I recommend it to the people on the YouTube chat who are also our friends, just our friends we haven't met yet?
You make a good point, but I was like, man, I'm not trying to give my friends any advantages. Some of my friends in our leagues are pretty crazy. They're like waking up at 3 a.m. to pick up waivers or pick up free agents once waivers clear and all that. So it gets intense.
Yeah, I mean, the secret thing that they don't know and that also even Alex doesn't know is that just lock in Josh Allen as your quarterback and then you're done.
Is that all? That's all right. Yeah. Millie Maker week 1. Here I come.
I'm telling you, man. Either week 1 or week 2, with Josh Allen quarterback millionaire maker lineup will be right there. I promise you that. I promise you that's an MLB lot before lot guarantee.
All right.
Give it NFL picks. Jake, let's talk about one guy who I like who was in this price range as well. Alex Young. I think he's in a pretty good spot here going against San Francisco. This is not a great San Francisco lineup. Really not any power to worry about at all. Kevin Pillar, the only guy over 200 ISO in that lineup. And the park as well, going to limit power pretty well, keep things favoring the pitcher. And Young's price is pretty reasonable. You can get to him and one of the mid 9K guys, one of the Sonny Grays or Andrew Heaney's or Yu Darvish's, depending upon the lineup. So I like Young here. I'm a little bit above the field on him. How are you feeling about him today going against the Giants?
Not getting to a lot of Young, just a couple shares out of 150. Not a great strikeout pitcher. You're seeing a ton of righties in the lineup for San Francisco. This lineup is confirmed, yeah? No, it's not actually. But they should have 8 righties, 7 righties plus Rodriguez, the pitcher. So not really going to count him, but just tough for any lefty pitcher. You're seeing a 4.6 implied total against here for Young, and he doesn't project as like a great value or anything like that. So all these factors are leading me to he's kind of getting lost in the shuffle.
Okay, that's fair. I think to me, I mean, on the year, there's another team with the Giants where they have changed things around enough where their season-long numbers aren't a perfect, accurate measurement of what they can do. But a 147 ISO and a 79 WRC plus on the year versus lefties, 23.5% K rate. And in their actual lineup, they have a 25% K rate today versus left-handed pitchers. And Young's been missing bats pretty well too, with a 13% chase rate. So I think his strikeout numbers can jump up a little bit here. And I like the matchup in the total. And if people are going to have, like, honestly, on a slate where people are going to have 40% Drew Smyly, or at least that's what we're projecting right now, I can do Alex Young at 20% and not feel too bad about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think 20% is probably the right number if you are playing a bunch of him. So is there something wrong with my mic? Can you hear me fine, Chris?
I can hear you.
Okay, there's one guy in chat, or one lady, I don't know, in chat talking about we can barely hear me. So I'll try to point my mic more at my mouth, I suppose, but...
Maybe they just want you to whisper into the mic and do that ASMR thing.
ASMR, yeah, that's interesting stuff, but that's probably for another day.
I would agree with that. So I don't know. I just think Alex Young is a little interesting there. How about Reynaldo Lopez also at that price point? Because he's a guy I'm not getting. He does project slightly better than Alex Young, according to our projections at Awesemo.com, at a better price as well. And the Angels certainly have some guys who are going to do some damage in there. I mean, Mike Trout going to be the first guy you look at, a 194 WRC plus going back to last year versus righties. Joe Ohtani, a 161, Justin Upton, a 139 versus righties. These are pretty good hitters in there against Lopez, but he's been pretty solid on the air, and he has some strikeout ability. Are you going to land on him at all?
Say that again. I'm reading chat. Reynaldo?
Yeah, Reynaldo.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I actually didn't really pay attention if I got to Reynaldo. Not to where the field was at. I got just under 10%. And I was talking earlier today. We basically got the lineup we expected outside of Calhoun for Goodwin. That's a lateral move, I think, as far as Lopez's strikeout ability here. There are some strikeouts at the bottom of this lineup, but not enough similar to Alex Young, not enough for me to warrant saving 1,200 to whatever that is, 1,900, 1,800 to get up into that 9K plus tier with those three guys I was talking about. So not getting too much Reynaldo here. It's really tough. This Angels top of the lineup, even though the bottom of the lineup kind of blows.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I didn't land on much Reynaldo either, but I do see what you're saying about the bottom of the lineup having strikeouts. Cumulatively, they do have a 26% K rate versus right-hand pitching in that lineup, which is being driven up quite a bit by wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. My bad. Now I'm looking at Arizona. Forget that point. But I think the spot here, the bottom of that order is pretty weak. And yeah, Tovar in there. Tovar really makes Angels lineups worse, like in an appreciable way. I think versus both sides of the plate. He's not really good. -16 WRC plus for Tovar. So he actually might be the worst hitter on the slate today.
That's pretty bad. -16 in anything.
Yeah. That is worse than Stevie Wilkerson, which is saying a lot, as we established yesterday. The Mendoza line for baseball is the Stevie Wilkerson line right now.
The Stevie Wilkerson line. I love it.
All right. We are at about the halfway point. Let's just touch on it real fast. I guess any of the cheap guys, because I did get a little bit of Michael Wacha, and I think you may have too. But anybody else cheap that you landed on who you feel like you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got to both of the super cheap guys. So let me resort here and talk about how much Derek Rodriguez. I only got to 8% Derek Rodriguez on the last one. And then Wacha, I got to 18%, which I'm a little bit ashamed of, but he's just a 54 or 58? $5,400 pitcher. And he's breathing. And he's not Derek Rodriguez, so that's also helpful. They're just a means to get Twins bats and one of the top pitchers.
Yeah, that's fair. I also have a little bit of Wacha. It looks like just 5% of both those guys, and that seems like enough to me. I think I might have gotten a little bit more because I don't think I updated this correctly, but like 10-15% or 10 to 5% rather of these guys, maybe up to 15, I feel like is okay. Because you're right, the cheapness there does help. And we are going to talk a lot about those Twins hitters in the second half of the show. And in fact, let's segue into our dong picks. Yesterday, only one person rose above the fray and got a home run. And that was Dan Vogelbach, picked by me. So now I'm barely surviving by the thinnest of margins. But Emax still safely in first place with 26 total dongs. Jake right behind him at 24. Josh an equidistant amount behind Jake with 22. I am behind Josh with 18. And Chris Randone bringing up the rear with less picks, though, but 3%. And I'm back above 20% pick rate. So that is where I'm feeling the best right now, Jake, because I just want to be above 20% at the end of the year. I feel like that's like a non-shameful number.
No, that's a pretty decent number, I think. Yeah.
I don't know what the standards are, but I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, I think we've got a 2-year sample of doing this, right? Did anybody get above like 23, 24 last year? I doubt it.
Oh, so actually, yeah, last year we were all above it. So, yeah, last year we had 23% for Josh, 24% for me, and 27% for you.
Oh my gosh, 27! Wow, I was elite last year. A lot less picks though. So.
Did a hell of a job. Though I guess the totals, totals are going to be higher this year. So much like the MLB itself, our home run totals were swelling because we finished the year with 19, 22, and 22 correct picks, and I think we're getting closer to that mark already. We should pass those. Actually, you guys already did pass those.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so my pick is going to be, oh, crap. Who are Emax guys? I don't want to step on his guys now, but I feel like I might end up. No, you know what? I'll go to the Cubs. I'm going to go to Chris Bryant.
Great pick. Bryant versus Smyly. You get some leverage there. I like the Cubs as well tonight. So we'll talk about them, I'm sure, in a second. I thought you were going to take a twin. I thought it was a mortal lock. You were taking a Twinkie here. But good for you. I don't think I'm going to take a twin either, even though they are a couple of my highest exposed hitters. How about you give me Pete Alonso here in some hot Atlanta weather against Julio Teheran. A little bit of leverage you get there as well.
Yeah, based on ownership, just to go back to your Twins point, CJ Cron was almost my pick, but
yeah, man, I hope he hits a dong.
Yeah, I ended up with a lot of Cron today, but yeah, Emax pick. So I think that means Emac is going to have Miguel Sano. So that was the pick that Emac put in advance. So he gets his Miguel Sano.
Did he? Chris Randone just picked as well.
Oh, let's see, Chris Randone's pick.
And Josh.
Eugenio Suarez. I also like that one. Your boy.
And Josh. My other boy, my new boy, Nick Castellanos, coming to my team, the Cubs. Love that.
Oh, that bastard. All right, so Josh is trolling me. That's great.
Oh man, you hit one home run and now you can't escape the troll.
Just got to drive it right back in my face. I mean, it's better for me though than like because the idea of going against Emacs guy like with CJ Crone is less appealing. Like I was gonna take Sano too potentially. Like it was Sano, Crone, or Bryant, and yeah, I'll avoid the Emac juggernaut and go to the much weaker Josh.
I mean, Emac, I don't know. Maybe you want to tail Emac though and just get a guy from the same team because he's been so close so many times as well.
True. That is the best way to kind of to catch up with Emac is just to tail him and then just make a little pivot to go with a little game theory going against Emac's picks.
Yeah. All right. Dong picks are out on Twitter. Wow. Whoever's doing this, doing an excellent job in terms of timing. So I'm gonna post this from the Osmo Daily Fantasy Sports account in the YouTube chat. Feel free to respond with your home run picks, and you'll get likes and retweets and bragging rights if you get them right.
Yep. So go check out that tweet right now. And the bragging rights are the whole thing. And while you're there, also check out the pinned tweet on the @Osmo_com Twitter handle because we are doing our biggest giveaway for the NFL season right now. 10 free months of Osmo Plus at your fingertips. All you have to do is do what that pinned tweet tells you. Just check out our season-long projections right from Osmo for NFL this year and go get in there and you can win one of 10 free months that we're giving away. It's a lot. So that's the biggest giveaway ever, Jake. Do you know that? Biggest ever.
That's what I hear. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? And you can, I don't know if you mentioned this, you can win a coaching session if you're already a premium member with Alex.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That is worth its own weight in gold. I guess. I don't know.
That's way more than $50 value, by the way. However long the session is.
People have enjoyed those Osmo coaching sessions before. He's done a good job with them. And as you can tell from his appearances on the Deeper Dive, Alex does have a lot to say when you get into that beautiful mind of his. So go check it out now. Check out the pinned tweet on @Osmo_com. All right, Jake, let's talk about your top stack. It's going to be Minnesota, I'm sure, because you've talked about them so much. So give the people the reasons why Minnesota's jumping out to you so much.
Yeah, I don't think Payano is a terrible pitcher or anything like that. He struggles to get strikeouts. The Twins have their active roster. I don't know about this roster especially, but their active roster had under a 21% K rate when I was looking this morning. And they've basically got, all their best hitters. Arias doesn't strike out. Marwin doesn't strike out too much. Castro does, but, he's a catcher. Under 4K. I think these guys are priced pretty reasonably. And there's no Coors today. You don't need to get up to these $5,500 hitters all that often tonight. And they're also, if you look at the top stack tool on DraftKings especially, the Twins are coming in pretty undervalued when you look at their ownership share compared to their chances of being the top stack. So all those factors, I know they're chalk, but they're not chalk enough. So all the Twins for me tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. I do think that so Payano's numbers just jump out where he missed bats decently. Like he has a 10.5% swing strike rate, a 33% chase rate. Like I trust everybody saying that he's so bad, but it does seem like there's some signs of life in him. And versus lefties has actually been pretty competent. Only faced 39 batters, but a 1.1 xFIP and a 1.1 WHIP and a 3 xFIP compared to a 2.4 and a 7.7 xFIP to righties. So I don't know. Like I'm still going with a ton of Minnesota today, and I'm certainly with the field on it. But I do wonder if it's maybe like he just can't be as bad as I think we're projecting him to be, and why the ownership is going to project him to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but the Twins are still underowned. Like it doesn't make sense. I don't know how these teams continue to go so underowned. And a 7.2 implied total is ridiculous, even in Texas. Like outside of Coors, you rarely see a total like that in Alex's team totals that he comes up with. So I'm excited to play the Twins. I guess be a homer, according to you guys, even though they're not my team. They're my team tonight.
The Minnesota Jakes, yeah, being in Texas, I mean, unlike the debatable weather in Oakland, which changes by the hour and falls off a cliff, Texas, it is going to be in the mid-90s for sure. And yeah, I think in that respect, it's hard to ignore the spot. And yeah, Payano, I think grades out in terms of a larger sample in the minors is not a great pitcher overall. But I just wonder if this could be one of those like Edwin Jackson. Once Edwin Jackson burns you, I think you got to get a little fear going, touching the stove again. And maybe Payano, to me, kind of feels that way. It's just so much ownership for all of these guys. There's really no, like, going to Jake Cave is pretty much the only low ownership thing that you can do there.
Yeah, but I wonder. So it's difficult to stack them up with two of Darvish, Heaney, and Gray together. And that's a popular lineup construction. It's one that I'm utilizing a lot. But basically all my lineups will have one of those pitchers. And then it gets dicey, and the reason why the Twins aren't super heavily owned or like over owned or anything like that is because you have to drop down to one of Waka or Derek Rodriguez if you want to get in like 3 of the 5 best parts of a Twins stack, at least on DraftKings. Like if you want to get 3 out of the top 4 hitters, now it's really pricey. So with 2 9K pitchers, it's not super easy, but that's why you're seeing some increased ownership on a guy like Crone, who I think kind of deserves it, batting 5th for 4,100. So I just love the stack. I hope I get a ton of Twins.
Yeah, I think Crone also comes up for me a decent amount because there isn't an appealing first base option for the Yankees. Like I'm really not trying to pay. I guess you could pay down for Mike Ford, but I have a lot of Minnesota and Yankee stacks, and I think that's also part of why I'm getting so much Crone. But I agree, he projects really well, and that price is pretty appealing for him. And a spot, even if you are just assuming that Payano is just what he's been so far in the majors, and it is a very limited sample. He's only faced 83 guys, but he's given up a 200 ISO to righties as well. So he's been giving up that power to righties, and Crone is the one of few actual righties in that lineup. Him and Sano gets the switch hitters as well. He'll be going lefty, one would presume.
I like it.
Let's see. Here, while we're talking these guys, we should talk a little cash. Bo Jones in the YouTube chat asking, do you think Aquino and Chapman or Kepler and Sano in cash?
Let's see. Actually, the ownership projections are free on the site today, so I'm just gonna show you guys these. These got updated a few minutes ago. One way you can do that is, who is it? Aquino and
Chapman.
Was it DraftKings? Aquino.
No site given, but probably. Who knows?
Okay, Aquino and Chapman. That's 19% total ownership. And then who was the other one? The other duo?
It was Kepler and Sano.
Kepler and Sano. So you've got way more ownership going to the Twins there. I would go Kepler and Sano. I would, also check the projections if you are a premium member and see just which combo projects higher, and that's how I would break my ties. That's why we kind of don't like 2v2s and 1v1s, because if you just look at the projections, your answer is usually right there. So I would go with Kepler and Sano. I wouldn't really worry about stacking up Twins and cash tonight. If it happens, it happens. But certainly never need to force a stack in cash.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so we talked enough about Minnesota here. I guess anybody jumping out ownership-wise you're getting more of than the other guys? I assume we're getting a good amount of CJ Crone respectively, but anybody else popping up besides him?
Let's see. My top owned hitter is exactly what I want. On my heaviest stacks, I want the top owned hitters to be like the best hitters. So Kepler, CJ Cron, Sano, Rosario. The guy I am most overweight on is actually, let's see, it's Arias and then Cave. So I'm still getting a lot of those guys, 20+% of both of those gentlemen on my last crunch. So they are the lowest owned. You wouldn't, you're not crazy about playing a 9-hitter at 8% ownership on an 8-game slate, but you would expect his expected plate appearances to go up because he is part of the stack. So I wouldn't be playing Cave as like a one-off or in a 2-man or anything like that if I could avoid it. But in the context of a stack, a $3,200 outfielder is a guy you should include on a team with a 7.2 implied total, or at least you shouldn't have a problem including him.
Yeah, I also got a lot of Marwin, it looks like, probably because of the dual position eligibility for him, but he came up a good amount for me alongside Crone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think your take's probably right. It probably should have more of the better hitters, but I'll just take all my Marwin Gonzalez's and hope and just pray that it works out somehow.
Marwin's a good play. Like, shouldn't be ashamed about having any Marwin tonight.
Thanks, Jake. All right, let's see. Who is going to be your number 2 stack then if Minnesota's going to be the clear-cut number 1?
So this is not something that I expected to happen this morning, but this is kind of why you trust the numbers. I mentioned my home run pick was Pete Alonso. I'm really liking me some New York Mets tonight against Julio Teheran. If you look at the top stack tool, I don't have the latest update, but earlier today they were being fairly owned when you look at their top stack percentage compared to their ownership share, but a really good value grade for them. They had the 3rd highest chance of being the top value on DraftKings. And I just don't understand why there's not more love to them, because you still get some leverage off of Teheran as well. Let's see where Teheran was on the last ownership update. Yeah, still in the teens, 13% ownership. So if I can play a stack that projects really well while also knocking out hopefully 13% of the field, I mean, I love these guys like Alonso, Conforto. I think Ramos is a really good catcher play as well. I love Rosario leading off for 3,800, just speed, not necessarily power, but that's the kind of guy you love in a stack that can wreak havoc on the base pads as well, and some power near the bottom of this lineup as well. So I think the stack sets up really nicely, and the added leverage is just the cherry on top here for the New York Mets, the surging New York Mets.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying here. I mean, like the thing is for me is that Tehran, I think, is really not a bad pitcher at all, especially this year. I mean, he's only given up batting average is kind of a symptom of some other things, but only a 1.3 whip, a 218 batting average. The K rate's not been great with 21.5%, but also home run power, only 2.6%, despite pitching in that home park. Like, I think he's been pretty decent on the year at keeping things under control. And I agree. Like, I do have some Mets. I think I have many stacks of the Mets, not a ton, probably not as much as you have, but I did get a little bit of Alonso and Conforto, and those guys do kind of check out as being good plays today, especially in that it's almost 90 degrees in Atlanta. So like a 130 WRC plus for Conforto, a 142 WRC plus for Alonso going against righties. Both of those guys I could see getting there. But I don't know. I trust Tehran enough. I feel like he's not priced somewhere where I want to play him, but I think he might be able to not give up full stack production today.
Yeah, I don't think Tehran's terrible, but the strikeout numbers have been way down even to righties. So like normally I would be, or at least like last season, I would have been really worried about taking a bunch of righties against Tehran, but his strikeout rate overall has plummeted, and the weather is so favorable to hitting in this park.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And it is, again, another hot day there. So they're in Texas, both two very warm days. How about the other side for Atlanta going against Marcus Stroman? Because I did not land there much, and I think Stroman's done a really good job not getting blasted on the year. It seems hard for me to imagine him giving up a full stack production, but he is pitching in Atlanta, and that is going to be a boost for the Atlanta hitting side as well. So how are you feeling about the Braves here going against Stroman?
I got to certain Braves, like Ozzy Albies. I got to him a bunch. He's a guy who I think is going a little bit under-owned, but he's almost 5K. So the problem is just the pricing for some of these top guys that you want to get in, Freeman, Acuna, Albies, when you could just go to the Twins, who are in a better spot with the way higher implied total. And against the worst pitcher, like Stroman is, we say this a lot, I probably overuse it, but he's a better real-life pitcher than fantasy pitcher. Never someone I'm like actively looking to stack against, even with good teams like the Braves. Just a guy that can get ground balls and just overall is a solid pitcher. So kind of what you were saying with Tehran is how I feel about Stroman, in that he's too highly priced, but not someone like, I think he can keep it under control, even against really good hitters.
Yeah, I think Stroman kind of seems like a more extreme version of Tehran, where maybe definitely going to have less strikeouts, one would think, with only that 19.7% K rate on the year. But that's a 2% home run rate and a 26% fly ball rate. As Jake mentioned, he's really keeping that ball down well. And only a 4.0 xFIP on the year, too. So he's been pretty solid. And I would agree. I think I just feel the same way about both hitting sides, where I'm not dying to get to full stacks for them, because I think both Stroman and Tehran make this more of a pitcher's duel than it would seem. But it is 90 degrees in Atlanta, so that could blow up fast.
Hope so, at least on one side.
I'm sure you do. Let's talk about the Cubs some more. We talked about having a little bit of interest in them before, and they are one of my top owned stacks for both 5-mans and for mini stacks. And I really like the Castellanos and Bryant duo, and I think overall just getting leverage on Smyly is appealing, even though I am with, not with the field on Smyly, but I am getting some of him. I do want to get the Cubs against him because that's an above 5 team total on a pretty good hitting park as well, going against the pitcher who really hasn't shown much historically, even if he has shown some more since he moved to Philly. I think it's a really nice spot for a Cubs stack, but what are you getting on them?
Yeah, Smiley's always had power issues, and he's not even like that cheap. So just the matchup with some of these Cubs hitters, you mentioned Castellanos and Bryant, I think two of the best options on the slate, regardless of the leverage you're getting. So just in a vacuum, I would love those two guys. You add in the ownership going to Smyly, and they just become incredible plays in tournaments. Like even like Rizzo leading off, a nice lineup bump there, 4,700. Lefty has never really worried me with Rizzo. And Smiley's just, like I said, he's had real issues with power. So I especially like the top 3 guys. Could see myself for sure getting to a bunch of Cubs 4 and 5-man stacks. I just really wish Javi Baez didn't get scratched. The Cubs probably would have been my number 1 stack, but now they're going to come in like, in that 3 to 5 range now.
Yeah, I mean, Smyly, you mentioned the lefty-lefty thing and Rizzo, and yeah, Smiley's actually been worse versus lefties. It's a smaller sample size, so that could be some aberration there, but giving up a 9.7 xFIP and a 1.9 whip to lefties, and this is in Texas too for the majority of his career, so that's going to probably take a bit of a jump, but also a 446 ISO allowed to lefties overall, so I would not be intimidated by going to a lefty here. Almora was a guy I probably would have had a lot of before they took Baez out of the lineup because he was going to be, I think, in the leadoff spot. Now he's down at the bottom of the order, but so you're not getting much value there, but I think you can get to 5-mans, and really I do think having some Castellanos and Bryant in particular, like those guys just murder lefties. Both guys over a 180 WRC plus and over a Castellanos 242 ISO, and Bryant has a 360. Like those are really big numbers in a park that's going to help him out.
There was like this narrative maybe last season or a couple of years ago that Chris Bryant wasn't good versus lefties, but I think that's quietly gone away. You said 180 WRC plus or something like that?
Yeah, he's Castellanos is a 180, Bryant is a 195 over the last year and change.
Yeah, Bryant's incredible. Definitely a top 25 hitter, if I had to guess.
Yeah, some could say, although apparently that'll get you in a boxing match from what I saw. You see those tweets with Shit My Money and Bobby Fi or whatever that dude's name is?
I mean,
I follow that Bobby guy because I think he followed me at some point. I don't really know his deal, but like I would always want to see a boxing match between anybody. But like that's such a weird Twitter thing to do where you're like, I'm gonna fight this guy because he's like mean. Not even that mean, just like snarky on the internet. Like welcome to the internet. Everybody's snarky.
Yeah. Even me sometimes, although I try to keep it off Twitter, but yeah, it's
yeah. Adam is peak DFS Twitter snark in a good way.
He really is.
But
he's good at it.
I think some guys here cannot handle that snark from Adam. I think he is one of those guys.
Could be.
Still be front row for the boxing match, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
How about the Yankees? You are a known Yankee lover. You and Josh both, I feel like, generally do end up heavy on the Yankees on days where they're not being heavily owned. And 3-man stacks look like they'll be popular on DK with the low-price Aaron Judge, who hasn't hit a home run in about a month now. Still at 4,400 now on DK, looking pretty good, but pretty owned as well. And also ownership going to Didi and Gary Sanchez. But everybody else here, your boy Gio Urshela not getting owned. DJ LeMahieu, underappreciated and overpriced, but still not getting owned. The bottom of the order, Gleiber not getting owned. Like, are you getting to the Yankees at all here going against Plutko, who just gives up power over and over again?
I was a little concerned that I wasn't getting to enough Yankees. I hope that changes around, but I guess the only issue I have with the Yankees is that they're not the Twins tonight, and I have we have the Twins being a ton better of a play at similar ownership. So, some of these Yankees, actually, man, they're not very good value at all. I thought they had some some lower priced guys in their lineup besides Ford. Like, I love attacking Plutko, and it's a 6.4 implied total. So they're just getting squeezed out because they're not Minnesota, really trying to make a heavy stand on them. So absolutely nothing wrong with the Yankees. If someone said that they were their top stack, I would say, all right, that's pretty logical here. But for me, just going to a different spot.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Plutko, the thing with Plutko that jumps out, which kind of doesn't make sense, he has a 1.2 whip, so he does that part well. He's not getting up a ton of walks and hits, but everything he does give up, I mean, only a 15% K rate and a 6% home run rate, over a 6% home run rate, and the isolated power, 280 overall going back to last year. Just getting hit really hard, and this is a Yankees team where they do hit pretty hard. I do think, though, if you were avoiding Judge and Gregorius and went to that bottom of the order, I really don't like Mike Ford too much versus righties. He's been pretty bad versus them in about 70 at-bats, only a .085 ISO. But I think these guys here at the bottom of the order not going to be owned, and it's like I think it's pretty possible those guys end up with the 1 or 2 home runs that Plutko is going to be bound to give up.
Yeah. Are you worried about Judge? Like, because I'm really not. Unless they're just hiding an injury or something. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't be hitting home runs. So
it's strange. I mean, a month of him not hitting a home run just seems odd, and it's tougher because we just keep talking about him, and it's like, yeah, the value jumps out, but and you have to, I think, as a DFS person and somebody who does this for like we do for shows, I feel like you have to be like, yeah, like the value's there, and theoretically should be better, but if he just doesn't keep doing it, I mean, eventually, at what point do you just become Chris Davis with a C or a K?
Wow.
I mean, it's not going to be that bad. He's still going to get on base and stuff, but like,
right.
It's just not. I mean, if you can't hit home run more than 1 home run in a month, and you're in that lineup, and we keep talking about you, like, I don't know. I feel like at some point it has to level out, but it's clearly not right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's still something lingering there. He was on the DL for a while. So maybe just kind of a lost season here, but yeah, it's just so weird. And he's priced at 4,400, so I always get him. Like I'm gonna continue to play him. He's just a way better hitter than 4,400 if you look at his career sample. So I don't know. I didn't know if you had a different take on it, but it's always weird in baseball to try to like make a hard stand on a guy that's just slumping so much like this, because we see it all the time, and then the guy busts out of the slump with a double dong, and then all of a sudden they've got 10 dongs in a month. So
yeah, and I think with where his ownership is today on DK, we're projecting him for about 18%, at least on the last ownership that I pulled, and like I'm okay with that. Actually, let me double check where I am, but I'm pretty sure that's around where I landed on it, and like that's what it takes. Like if he were going to be 30% owned, like let's say he went down to 4K for some reason, and people were like really going towards that, I think that's fine. Actually, yeah. So I have him at I am a little bit over the field on him because he does pop up with our projections pretty well. I'm at 30% on him, and I gotta live with that. I think it still feels a bit high, but if he bounces back today and has that 2 home run day, which we've been waiting for, then you'll look like a genius.
Yeah, he's gonna bounce back at some point or go to the DL. So I'm just playing him until he's not in the lineup. And I would rather be where you're at on him. I think I was at like around 10%. Don't feel super comfortable not playing a lot of Aaron Judge here, but still getting him in one-offs and 2-mans for the Yankees.
Yeah, I can't wait to have this 10 points at the end of the day when he gets like 1 hit, 1 walk, and gets like other guys, everybody else hitting home runs around him, which has been the fun part of the Yankees, that all these guys are hitting home runs around him. So it does pay off from a tournament lineup building perspective a lot lately. If you've been going to the Ursulas and the Gregorius, I guess, well, not so much Gregorius, but the Gleibers, like those guys. Even Brett Gardner the other day had a home run and Judge did not. So
yeah, that's been the extra frustrating part too, is like the Yankees have just been smashing every night, and then you look up and Judge has a 7 on DK, which is fine, but it's not gonna make or break your stack. Like I saw Alex had 75% of Judge on a shorter slate.
Really?
A few days ago, yeah, because I was getting so much of him, and I went back and looked in lineup study, and he had 75% of Judge in a 150 max, and I was like, wow. So I wasn't playing him enough, and I think he had like a 0 or a 2 that game, which is extra frustrating.
Yeah, eventually it's going to bounce back, and hopefully it's today where I guess I'm above the field on him, and really didn't have a strong take on that, but apparently my process came up a little differently and did have a strong take for me. So thank you Excel spreadsheet. Let's talk about Cincinnati a little bit, because Michael Wacha is going to have a bit of ownership on him, and he is also a guy who's pretty nice to target against, getting a 9% barrel ball rate on the year, a 1.7 whip, and a park, which also is going to help out the power hitting. I got less Cincinnati than I thought I would have, just because it didn't happen a lot for me in the crunches, and I kind of feel like I should have more, but I don't. How are you feeling about Cincinnati here going against Wacha?
I just like the Mets quite a bit better. Let's see if I ended up on any this time around. I got to Van Meter. He wasn't in the lineup before. That makes sense. He's a solid value. Dual position eligibility on DK. So he was the guy I got overweight on, and then Suarez basically around the field. But I don't know. I think Wacha's bad, but there's just a value stack I like a little bit better in the Mets. So not getting to a lot of Reds. I believe they were actually they weren't very overowned. They were about equal. So I guess I don't have a huge issue with the Reds, but they didn't project out as well as other value stacks.
Yeah, I think the righty-heavy lineup is going to be a benefit here versus Wacha. He's given up a 218 ISO to that side of the plate, and a 1.6 whip as well as a 6 xFIP. So he has given up some production to right-handed batters, and you are only getting, I guess I didn't update my lineup, but Votto out of there now. Van Meter is a righty, right? Or is he a lefty?
He's a lefty.
Yeah, check.
Lefty. Okay.
Yeah, he's lefty. Okay, so you got another lefty in there, but besides that, everybody else here is going to be righty. And yeah, I think it's a spot where I think Wacha can give up that production, and the park is going to help them out. The bullpen for St. Louis is pretty good behind him, so that's one little caveat if you were to try to full stack it there. I think the thing that gives me pause, though, is like I don't want to pay $4,900 for Aquino, and I know he's been hitting well, but he seems like he's starting to come back down to earth bit by bit every day. And as you would expect, because he has isolated power so high, even right now he still has a 580 ISO versus righties and 32 at bats, but that's got to normalize a bit here. And it seems like he's kind of doing that bit by bit. He's going to be down to where he should be.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to come back down to earth. So maybe it's not tonight. Maybe it's another homer tonight. But I guess I'm continuing to fade this guy, and he's just killing me, it seems like, night after night.
Yeah, it's not the best, but I think the spot here, the ownership seems pretty fair overall. As you mentioned, the chances of being a top stack are right there in line with the ownership. So if you are getting there, you're probably fine, but maybe not one to go too crazy on. Who else you're getting a good amount of, Jake? Because we have a bunch of teams here. I got some White Sox. I don't know if you're getting them against Heaney. Who else are you getting that's a little bit weird?
More Atlanta than I expected, and then some Arizona stacks are coming up. I didn't notice them earlier today, but I mean, I was talking about how bad Rodriguez was today, and Josh Rojas in there is someone mentioned in the chat earlier. Great salary relief. I think I agree with that at 3K. Batting second, as is David Peralta, one of the better values on the entire slate. So I really do think Arizona is great value. They're another reason that I'm not getting to Cincinnati as much, and the ownership looks like it's intact right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some appeal here. I mean, the ownership is really high for Rojas, who you mentioned. He's 3K on DraftKings, 20% projected ownership there. And he does, I think in the minors, he was like a 200 isolated power hitter. So he's at a 125 in a limited sample size so far. But going against Rodriguez has given up a 204 ISO to lefty, so that'll benefit Rojas as well. I think to me, though, the thing is like the park. I don't see the need to get to a lot of Arizona because I think the park's going to mostly keep that in control. And Rodriguez, not a big power guy in general, even though he does give up that lefty power. He's not a guy I think gets shelled particularly often. So I didn't get there, and it feels a bit overowned. So I think that's more of a fade for me with Arizona.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think they're coming in just a little bit overowned, but for a decent value stack, that's not something I'm super concerned with. It's like when you get the Detroits up there and other bad teams, just because they're cheap and there's expensive pitching on the slate. Those are the stacks that I like to avoid full stacking. But here, I think because you're not getting like two 11K pitchers or anything you have to pay up for, I think this mid-tier value is pretty nice for Arizona.
That's fair. Also, you got 5 minutes left to lock, so get your lineups in. Start getting your final preparations in there. Take your last look at the ownership projections at Osmo.com. Use that promo code Live Before Lock if you haven't yet to get half off your first month of Osmo Plus. So any White Sox at all for you? Because I know we breezed past that, but I just want to see if you got any, because I would have assumed you would get a little bit with the ownership on Heaney and the power that he can give up. And you do have a couple of good righty hitters in there who can take advantage of that 200 ISO that Heaney gives up to right-handed bats. But any White Sox at all for you and this I'm trying to sell you on in this power-friendly Angels Park, Jake?
No, I mean, I scattered some White Sox, Abreu, and Wellington Castillo, and guys like that. You're just looking for home runs, basically. So I would really like them in two-man stacks, especially if you're not going to Heaney. But Heaney's going to be my highest exposed pitcher on DK, so it's not like I'm going to be over the moon on a bunch of Chicago White Sox bats, although they certainly provide a ton of leverage tonight. We just got an ownership update as well, and Smyly came way down. He was at 40+% earlier. He's at 25. So now I'm overweight on Drew Smyly. Like, I did not think he was going to drop that much, but that mattered a lot, I guess.
And also, as we talked about earlier with Yu Darvish, he is still at the same amount, but Gray and Heaney have gone up. So if you were doing the three-way split, the holy trinity of Sonny Gray, Andrew Heaney, and Yu Darvish, maybe a time to bump up your amount of Yu Darvish if you can, one would think.
Yeah, let me see where I'm at on Darvish right now. Where did he go? Oh, okay. He's at, I have, about 1.5 times the ownership. He's at 22 on DK. I got 36. So.
Oh, goddamn. So I actually am also slightly above Smyly too. It looks like I'm at 26%. So that's
I got 43% Smyly. So I have it up on screen now. And so my top 4 players in exposure are pitchers, and Heaney, Gray, Smyly, Darvish, all between 45 and 36.7%. Then it is a bunch of Mets and Mike Trout in there, and then a bunch of Twins as well. So stacks pretty much stayed the same, but Smyly snuck in quite a bit. Atlanta came up for me. Just a few White Sox in there, and then kind of under the field on Cincinnati, it's looking like, at least as the stack as a whole.
Did you get any Cleveland at all? Because I've had people asking about them today, and I feel like Josh also may have said on the deeper dive that he was into them as a stack. And they do have some hitters here who are competent. I just don't really like going against the Yankees bullpen days because I think their guys are pretty good. And we're getting Chad Green as the opener, and it seems like Jonathan Loaiza after him, but who knows? And Any interest in Cleveland at all for you, or did you just kind of not get to them?
Basically only got to Lindor, 3.3% Lindor. So basically going disregarded. Cleveland is, for me at least. I hate targeting these bullpen games, so I was glad to see that they're not super popular, or I'm sorry, they're not coming up in projections. We just got another ownership update. Let's see.
Okay.
Maybe I should do one last upload and see if Smyly kind of normalized. No.
He's still at 25. Still at 25.
Wow. Okay.
Sonny Gray came up 1% though, so now he's getting even more chalky by the minute.
Got to cancel the slate now. Yeah.
I'm honestly, this must be a really proud day for Adam for shit my money with Sonny Gray rising. I mean, he hasn't hit the 10K price point yet, but I feel like he's got to be proud. It's like seeing his son like graduate.
It's just so funny that like he said Sonny Gray is good one time, and now he's the Sonny Gray guy. You know, like people just latch on to that one thing, and there you go. So good thing I'm not
like
the Austin Bibbins Dirks guy.
The Vargas guy.
What's that?
Like Chris Rendon being the Jason Vargas guy.
Yeah, I guess I did that to him. So I've had a lot of bad pitcher takes before, so I'm glad that I haven't kind of found an awful guy. At least Sonny Gray's good.
It's better to be remembered for the things that you've done well. Like, I mean, that, I'll tell you, I didn't have much Cole Hamels yesterday, but the amount that I did, I really felt like a dick about once the Phillies put up 10 runs in like 4 innings. It's like, oh, all right, Cole Hamels, I guess apparently not as good at keeping things under control as it seemed.
Yeah, MLB is pretty humbling. I can attest firsthand. So I did a quick update. Nothing major changed. Just a couple percentage points here and there. Snuck in that last ownership update. So go Mets, go Twins.
E-Rush saying, how much Sonny Gray do you think Adam has? I would guess he doesn't go crazy. I would think he's in the 55% range.
I'd say he's around 50 if I had to guess.
Yeah. That was my initial instinct. But I was like, I feel like he likes him enough, or maybe that's the tiebreaker where he goes up 5% more. But
right. I think.
Watch him have 0 today. He's like, that's chalk. I just can't see it.
No. On the deeper dive, he said that he likes him, but he's not a secret or anything like that. He's not. It's not like you're getting a ton of leverage playing him, like the bats are chalky against him or anything like that. So he's just a good play today, and I don't think you need to go crazy on any of these top arms tonight.
Yeah, that's fair. We've talked about our approach throughout the hour, and that's always what we do here in Live Before Locks. So subscribe and hit that notification bell to know whenever we go live. And of course, also check out all the things that we have on our Twitter at Osmo_com. That includes our big NFL giveaway, the biggest giveaway we've had yet, giving away 10 months of Osmo Plus memberships. So go check that out right now. Pin tweet will tell you what to do, but it's all about our NFL season-long projections created by Osmo with love. A little bit of love and tenderness is put into each individual projection. He stirred it together in a cauldron, and then I presume cast some witchcraft. This is how NFL projections are made. So go check that out now on the pin tweet at Osmo_com on Twitter. And Jake, what is your schedule coming up for shows?
Let's see. Josh and I on the Yahoo show tomorrow, and then I'll be on the deeper dive with Adam tomorrow, and then I will be running it back right away with Josh on Live Before Lock. So 3 shows for me tomorrow. Get used to it. It's going to be a lot of that next week. Get used to Chris's face. Get used to Josh as well. And then you'll be doing the Saturday show. Adam will be doing Saturday morning. Check out the EPL content from Josh and Tristan. And then Josh just put out an MMA article. Go read that. There's some good contests for MMA this week as well. So just check out everything on the site, per usual.
Yeah, check out everything. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with the 4 corners and then be doing Live Before Lock on Saturday with your old pal Emac. So go tune in there and see what we're up to, because we're going to have a lot of fun. Always enjoy getting to spend time with Emac on the weekend. So go check that out. And we'll be back with you guys again soon. Use that promo code Live Before Lock for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. If you want to get in for that night slate content, one of the best things that we do at the site, made a lot of money for our founding team with the night slates out there. So go check out that stuff right now at osmo.com/join with that promo code Live Before Lock. And we'll be back with you guys again soon. Enjoy your nights. Good luck.